Hi students, good morning to all of you. Hope you all are doing good and safe at home. Hearty welcome to all of you for today's session. Come, let's learn English, and here is your English teacher Jodhimol. Children, today I will be explaining you a new lesson, the fourth lesson of our supplementary reader moments. The name of the lesson is The Kingdom of Fools, written by A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan was an Indian poet and scholar who wrote both in English and Kannada language. This story is based on a Kannada folktale. Kannada, a regional language mainly spoken in Karnataka. Folktale. What do you mean by folktale? Tale, tale means story. So here, folktale means it's a story which is passed on from one generation to another. I shall repeat it. Folktale is a story which is passed on from one generation to another. This story is taken from the book Folk Tales from India. This story is taken from the book Folk Tales from India. Okay, let's go straight to the textbook. I shall read the first portion to you. It's a very simple story and at the same time it's funny to read. Okay children, listen. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They didn't want to run things like other kings, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It's a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. Okay, children, let's see the explanation. So, as I told you, this story is about two fools. Two fools means the king and his minister. So, in the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister, they were idiots. What do you mean by idiots? Unintelligent people. So, in the kingdom of fools, the king and his minister both were idiots. They did not want to run their kingdom like other kings did. Did you get the sentence, children? They did not want to run their kingdom like other kings did. So, they decided to do something different. They started treating night as day and day as night. Did you get the sentence, children? They started treating night as day and day as night. So they passed an order that everyone in the kingdom would work at night. Nobody would sleep at night. The farmers would do farming at night, and the ones who ran businesses would do business at night. As soon as the sun rose, everyone would go to sleep. If anybody would disobey the order, he would be punished with death. So what happened to the condition of the people, children? The people did as they were told for fear of death. Have you seen that sentence? The people did as they were told for fear of death. So what happened, children? The people were scared. The people were afraid that if they did not obey the king's order, they would be sentenced with penalty. What's the penalty, children? They would be punished with death. So they obeyed the order, although it was very strange. The king and his minister both were very happy. What's the reason, children? The king and his minister were delighted. They were happy at the success of their project. So they were very happy that all the people in the kingdom were following their order. So one day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the kingdom of fools. Yes, it was a beautiful city. It was a sunny day also. but they could not find anyone around. Who could not find anyone around? It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. They couldn't find anyone around. They were surprised. Who were surprised? The Guru and his disciple, because everyone was asleep. And the writer says everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. What's the meaning stirring, children? Stirring means moving around. So here the writer says that not a mouse was stirring. Not even a single mouse was there. Not even a single mouse was moving around the place. So what does the writer mean by the sentence, children? It was so quiet. It was so quiet means the town, not the town, children, the city. It was a beautiful city. That city, it was so quiet, as everyone, even the tiniest creatures, the mice, were asleep. Then what about the cattle? See the sentence, even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The people had taught their cattle to sleep during the daytime. So everyone, human beings as well as animals, were sleeping. So the two strangers means the Guru and his disciple, they were amazed, they were surprised to see that everyone was sleeping during the daytime. So what did they do? They wandered around the town till evening. So as soon as it was getting dark, everyone woke up and started doing their work. So when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. So the two strangers were amazed. They were surprised by what they saw around them. What did they see around them, children? So when they wandered around the town till evening, they saw when the town is getting dark, all the people, they woke up and went out their own businesses, their own nightly businesses. I hope you understood this portion, children. So let's move on to the next portion. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single duddu. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a duddu. The Guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So when they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. This is no place for us. Let's go, he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. The Guru said, they are fools. They won't last very long. And you can't tell what they will do to you next. Okay, children, let's see the explanation. The two men were hungry. The two men means the Guru and his disciple. They were hungry. So when the shops opened at night, they went to buy some groceries. They were surprised. See, the sentence, to their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single duddu. Where they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a duddu. So what's happening there, children? The two strangers or the two men, they were surprised to see whatever they bought from the shop cost the same. They cost the same means only a single duddu. It's enough to buy anything. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it costs the same, a single duddu. Duddu, you know what's the meaning of duddu? Duddu means money in Kannada language. Duddu means money in Kannada language. So they found that things were very cheap there. A duddu, it's enough to buy a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas. So everything was at the same price in the kingdom of fools. Did you get that paragraph, children? Everything was at the same price in the kingdom of fools. A single duddu, it's enough to buy a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas. Okay. So, when they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools. So the Guru and his disciples, they were very happy because the food in the kingdom was very cheap. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. But when they cooked and ate their food, the Guru was thinking that it was not a safe place for them to live. So when they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that it's not a suitable place for them to live. It's not a good idea for them to stay there. So what did he say? He said to his disciple, "This is no place for us, let's go." So he told his disciple that the place was not right for them, and he suggested him to leave the place at once. But the disciple, what's the reply of the disciple, children? Listen. The disciple wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The Guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want, I am going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. So the disciple, he was a foodie. What do you mean by foodie, children? He loved to eat a lot. So that place was very suitable for him. What's the reason, children? Each and every item was very cheap there. Each and every item was very cheap. They could buy a lot of food just for a rupee. So the disciple, he wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay there. He wanted to remain there. So he did not want to leave the place because the food was cheap there. But the Guru, he tried to make him understand that the kingdom was not the right place for them. The kingdom was a place. So, but the Guru, he tried to make him understand that that was a kingdom of fools. The Guru tried to make him understand that the place was not a suitable place for them. It's a place of fools, and it's very dangerous to stay there. So the Guru, he realized that the kingdom would not last for a long time, and it would be harmful for them too. But the disciple, he was not foresighted like his Guru. He didn't listen his Guru's words, and he did not want to leave the place too. He wanted to live there for what, children? To enjoy the cheap food available in that kingdom. So finally, Guru left the place without his disciple, and the disciple stayed back in the kingdom. Every day he ate a lot of food, bananas, ghee, rice and wheat. And at last, he grew fat like a huge bull. He grew fat like a street side sacred bull. So, what's the meaning of that sentence, children? He grew fat like a huge bull. Okay, children, let's move on to the next portion. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. And as he was carrying out his loot, the of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice." The king said, "Justice will be done, don't worry," and at once summoned the owner of the house. So what happened, children? So one day, a thief entered into a rich merchant's house secretly. Do you know by how? He made a hole in the wall of the house. So when he was about to leave the house after looting all the things, the wall broke and fell down on his head and he died on the spot. What's the meaning of on the spot, children? He died then and there itself. What's the meaning of, children? Loot. Loot means stolen things. So what happened one day, children? One bright day, a thief entered into a rich merchant's house secretly. By how, children? He made a hole in the wall of the house. Then, when he was about to leave the house after looting all the things, the wall broke and fell down on his head and he died there itself. Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. Whose words are these, children? The thief's younger brother. Okay, the thief's younger brother. What did he say? The thief's younger brother went to the palace and complained the king. He told the king that his brother was killed while doing his ancient trade. What's the meaning of ancient trade, children? Here, ancient trade means robbery. So what he was doing there, children? His brother was doing robbery. Actually, the younger brother was taking advantage of the king's foolishness. Am I right, children? Actually, the younger brother of the thief, he was taking advantage of the king's foolishness. As we know, the king and his minister, they were foolish. So, the younger brother, he told the king that the merchant was the culprit. The merchant was the culprit. So you must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. So what he was trying to say, children, he told the king that the merchant was the culprit and he should have made a strong wall. What's the thing, children? You must punish the wrongdoer. The younger brother asked the king to punish the wrongdoer. So what's the wrong thing he had done? He didn't build a good strong wall. Okay, so he should have made a strong wall. So the younger brother requested the king to punish the merchant and get compensation for the family. So the king, he was so foolish. What did he say? He said, justice will be done, don't worry. And at once summoned the owner of the house. So what he was doing there, children? The king, he was so foolish. He did not consider the fact that the dead man was doing robbery. He was committing theft at the time of death. The unintelligent king thought that the merchant was the responsible person for his death. So what did he do? He should have built a wall properly. He should have built a wall properly. Otherwise, it would not fall down on his head. So he called the merchant at once to his palace. Summon means called upon at once. Summoned the owner of the house. Who was the owner of the house? A rich merchant. So I'll repeat once again, children. The king said, justice will be done, don't worry. And at once summoned the owner of the house. So what's the king was trying to say, children? The king, as I told you, he was foolish. He did not consider the fact that the dead man was doing robbery. He was committing theft at the time of his death. The unintelligent king thought about the merchant. He thought that the merchant was the responsible person for his death. He should have built the wall properly. Otherwise, it would not fall down. So what did you do, children? He agreed. He told the younger brother of the thief not to worry. Justice will be done. And at once, he called the owner of the house, the rich merchant. I hope you understood this portion. Okay, let's move on to the next one. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him. What's your name? Such and such, your highness. Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house? Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him. The accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you. Lord, said the helpless merchant, I didn't put the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him. Who is that? My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby. The king sent out the messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. You, there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, my lord, I did. Okay, children, so what's happening there, children? As soon as the merchant appeared, the king started questioning him. Have you seen that? When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him. What's your name? He said, were you at home when the dead man looted your house? He answered, yes, my lord, I was at home. So the king asked him, were you at home when the dead man burgled your house? Were you at home when the dead man looted your house? Burgled, looted. He answered, the merchant answered, yes, my lord, I was at home. Then the wall was weak. When he made a hole in the wall, it collapsed and fell on his head. So what did he say? He said, the wall was weak. The wall was weak. When he made a hole in the wall, it collapsed and fell on his head. Then the king told him that he was guilty. He did wrong. So according to the king, the rich merchant was the culprit because he didn't build it right. So he wanted to punish the merchant. Then by that time the helpless merchant said, I didn't put up the wall, my lord. I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. So you should punish that man who built the wall. Then the king asked, who is that? My lord, that wall was built in my father's time. That wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby. Then what did the foolish king do, children? By hearing the words of the rich merchant, the king sent out the messengers to bring the bricklayer who had built the wall. What's the meaning of bricklayer, children? Bricklayer is a person who lays the bricks and build the walls. Bricklayer is a person who lays the bricks and build the wall. So by hearing the order, the messengers went out to bring the bricklayer. By how, children? They brought him tied hand and foot. Then again the same thing happened. The king started questioning the bricklayer. You there? Did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, the bricklayer agreed. Yes, my lord, I did. What kind of a wall this is that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him, so we have to punish you by death. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall and it was no good. But that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. So you must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives. You're right. The case deepens. We must look into it. It's not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer wherever she is. So the bricklayer agreed that he had built the wall. Then the king asked him, what kind of a wall is that? Is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man. So the king said, you have done a weak wall. It fell on the man's poor brother and he was killed. So I'm going to punish you by death. So what's the reply given by the king, children? Yes, the king said, you have done a weak wall. You have built a weak wall. It fell on this poor man's brother and he was killed. So I'm going to punish you by death. So when the king was about to pass an order to execute the bricklayer requested the king to listen him. Please listen to me before you give your orders. So what he is trying to say, children? The bricklayer says, yes, it's true. I built the wall. It's not good. I know it's not good because my mind was not on it. Still I remember a beautiful dancing girl. She was going up and down the street all day with her anklets jingling. So I couldn't keep my eyes or mind on the wall I was building. He added, I know where the dancing girl lives. You should punish her, not me. Did you get the paragraph, children? So before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded means requested. Please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall. It was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. My mind was distracted. I remember very well a dancing girl was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling. What's the meaning, children? Anklets. What's the meaning of anklets? Anklets is an ornament that we are wearing in our ankles. Okay, so anklet is an ornament for our ankles. Then jingling means producing a low musical sound. So what he was trying to say, children? So what is happening there? So everyone is passing on the blame to another person. So here now when the king questioned the bricklayer, he passed the fault on to a dancing girl. So yes, the king was satisfied with the bricklayer's explanation. So what did he explain, children? The bricklayer says, yes, it's true. I built the wall. It's not good because my mind was on it. My mind was not on it. Still I remember a beautiful girl. She was passing or she was going up and down the street all day with her anklets jingling. So I could not keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. Then he added one more thing. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives. So what did he say, children? Yes, he added, I know where the dancing girl lives. So you should punish her, not me. Then the king, again the foolish king, he was satisfied with the bricklayer's explanation. So the bricklayer tried to convince the foolish king. Then the king became satisfied, and the bricklayer, what did he do, children? He asked the king to punish the dancing girl. The bricklayer asked the king to punish the dancing girl. So the king says, you are right, the case deepens. Yes, you are right, the case is getting complicated, so it's not easy to solve this problem. So he ordered his messengers to get the dancing girl. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. Did you walk up and down the street that many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him. So he built a bad wall. So the dancing girl, she had become an older woman now, and actually she was trembling when she entered into the court. So that old woman, she came trembling to the court. So again the king started to question her. He asked, did you walk up and down this poor man? Did you go up and down the street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, that old woman, she admitted, yes, my lord, I remember it very well. Okay, so you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him. So she agreed, yes, my lord, I remember it very well. Then the king explained it to her. So you are the culprit. So you are the culprit. You walked up and down the street and distracted the poor bricklayer with your jingling anklets. So he built a bad wall, and it fell down on a poor burglar's head, and he was killed on the spot. So you have killed an innocent man. So you have to be punished. Did you get the sentence, children? It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. So you have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. So the king came to a conclusion that the dancing girl was the culprit, and he told her that she had killed an innocent man and she had to be punished. That is what is the decision of the king. So again she thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait, I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was lazy. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses and said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when his burglars saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damn goldsmith's fault. So again, the same thing happened. What happened, children? The poor lady or the poor woman, she also transferred the fault to another person. To whom, children? To a goldsmith. So she, again the same thing happened. The dancing girl, what did she do? She transferred the blame onto another person. She transferred the blame to another person. Who was that person, children? To a goldsmith. So she thought for a while. She thought for a minute and she said, my lord, please listen. Just wait. I know why I was walking up and down the street. I had given some gold to a goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. What do you mean by scoundrel, children? A dishonest person. So according to the old lady, that goldsmith was a scoundrel. He was a dishonest person. What's the reason? Because he made many excuses. He kept on asking her to come after some time. So it's not her fault. According to the old lady, it's not her fault. It's the fault of the goldsmith. He made her walk up and down the street a dozen times. I hope you understood this portion, children. So now the king says, yes, she is absolutely right. Have you seen the sentence, children? My lord, it's the damned goldsmith's fault. So here, the dancing girl transferred the blame onto the other person. The other person means the goldsmith. So at last, the king says, poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. So again, the same thing happened. The king, he says, she's right. She's absolutely right. Who is absolutely right? According to the king, the old lady, she is absolutely, that old lady means the dancing girl. She was absolutely right. So, we have got the real culprit at last. So, get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding. So, again, the king ordered his messengers or ordered his officers to bring the goldsmith wherever he is hiding. So, the king's bailiffs, what do you mean by bailiffs, children? Bailiffs means law officers. So, the king's bailiffs, they searched for the goldsmith. The goldsmith was hiding in a corner of his shop itself. So when he heard the accusation, when he heard the charges against him, so when the goldsmith heard the charges against him, he had his own story to tell. So he also had a story to tell. Who also had a story to tell, children? The goldsmith also had a story to tell. So what is he saying? Let's see. My lord, he said, I'm a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor man's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? Children, here is the last portion of today's session. So let me explain this portion. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. So he also had a story of his own. So he says, yes, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer many times to my door. Yes, I made this dancer come to my house many times a day. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish her jewelry on time. What's the reason? I had to finish a rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming. They were in a hurry. Then he added one more sentence, you know, how impatient rich men are. So he added, rich men are impatient. They won't wait for anybody. So this is what is the actual reason. So the goldsmith here, he convinced the king by narrating his own story or by narrating his own side. So he was a poor goldsmith. It's true, he made the dancer come many times to his door and he gave her excuses because he couldn't finish making her jewelry because he had finished a rich man's order, or because he had to finish a rich man's merchant's order because they had a wedding coming. So they couldn't wait. Who couldn't wait? The rich people, they couldn't wait. So he says one thing about the rich men or rich people. You know how impatient rich men are. How impatient rich men are. The rich people, according to the goldsmith, the rich people are impatient. They won't wait for anybody. So what's the goldsmith trying to say, children? Yes, she is right. I made this dancer come to my house many times a day. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish her jewelry on time. What's the reason? I had to finish a rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming. They were in a hurry. Okay. So let's move on to the last paragraph, children. So who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing the poor woman's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name? Whose words are these, children? Any guess? Yes, these are the words of the king. Then the king asked the goldsmith to name the rich merchant. Who is the rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? Who made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall. Made a mess means spoiled. Okay, made a mess means spoiled, so which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him. So children, yes, the story is very interesting. So let's see who is the man, or who is the name, or who is that rich merchant in our next class. Okay, so read the lesson thoroughly, or read the whole lesson thoroughly, children. And as usual, there is an assignment for you. Then if you are interested, you can read the whole story and find out the real culprit. Okay children, so don't forget to do the assignment. Thank you and have a nice day.